So let's go back to the beginning, because as strange and widespread as this phenomenon is now, it started somewhere specific. The first wave of what we now call Chupacabra sightings began in 1995 in Puerto Rico, but it wasn't just a rumor, was it, Sarah? It was a genuine panic.
That's right, Mark. It was something like mass hysteria, but grounded in real, physical events. It started in the small town of Canavanas, where a local woman named Madeline Tolentino reported seeing a bizarre creature outside her home. She described it as bipedal, reptilian, with dark gray skin, spines or quills running down its back, and large, lidless red eyes. And what made her story hit hard wasn't just the creature, it was what followed. Farm animals found completely drained of blood, with small, precise puncture wounds to the neck or chest.
And this wasn't just one or two goats here and there, was it? We're talking about dozens of animals, in some cases entire flocks.
Exactly. Over 100 cases were reported in just a few months, and the reports were eerily similar. What really disturbed the local authorities was that the killings didn't match any known predator behavior. Coyotes, feral dogs, even birds of prey leave evidence: teeth marks, torn flesh, missing limbs. But these animals were untouched except for the wounds, as though something had literally siphoned their blood out with a straw.
That's what really unnerves me, Sarah, because when we think about predators, we think messy, we think wild, but the Chupacabra stories are sterile, clean. It's like nature with the empathy removed. Like something methodical is at work, and that first sighting, Tolentino's, set the tone for everything that came after, didn't it?
It really did, and while skeptics have pointed out that her description closely resembles the alien creature in the film Species, which came out just a few weeks earlier, it's not that simple because the slaughtered animals were real, the bloodlessness was confirmed by investigators, and the phenomenon grew beyond anything Hollywood could influence. Within weeks, reports were coming in from other towns, then other regions, and by the end of that year, sightings had jumped across the ocean to Mexico and parts of the southern United States.
And these weren't just copycat stories, either. They were coming from people who had never heard of Tolentino, who didn't have internet access, who weren't watching sci-fi movies. And yet they were describing the same creature, the same behavior, almost word for word. You don't get that kind of pattern from coincidence.
No, you don't, and that's when folklorists like me started paying close attention, because something unusual was happening. You had this blend of folkloric contamination, where stories influence one another, and genuine anomaly, and the result was what we now call the modern Chupacabra myth. But if you go back even further, you start to find hints of something older.
Older? How far back are we talking?
Centuries, Mark. There are stories from colonial records that describe similar creatures, small, gray, blood-drinking monsters spotted in the Caribbean and Central America, and even further back. Indigenous stories speak of night spirits or bone drinkers that prey on livestock. They weren't called Chupacabra, but the behaviors line up eerily well. And that suggests that what happened in 1995 might have been a flare-up of something ancient, not the birth of something new.
That gives me chills, because it means the Chupacabra isn't just a creature of the modern era. It's a recurring event, maybe even a cyclical one, something that returns when the conditions are right. And if that's true, then 1995 was just a window opening.
Exactly, and that's why I hesitate to call it hysteria, because mass panic doesn't leave behind bloodless corpses and consistent physical evidence. And the witnesses weren't fringe voices, they were farmers, housewives, police officers, and veterinarians, all describing the same thing in different places, often within hours of each other.
So let's talk about one of those reports in detail, just to get a sense of what people were seeing and feeling in that first wave.
Sure, one of the most famous cases happened in the town of Mocker, where a farmer named Miguel Gonzalez found 8 of his goats dead in the morning, all with small holes in their necks. He called the police, and the responding officer noted that the goats showed no signs of external trauma apart from the puncture wounds. No torn flesh, no blood spatter, no sign of struggle in the pen. The animals appeared to have just fallen over, and when they performed an autopsy on one of the goats, they found it completely drained, no blood, not even pooling in the organs.
And the thing that sticks with me about Gonzalez's story is that he said he heard nothing the night before. No barking from his dogs, no sounds of struggle, and yet whatever did this had to get into a fenced area, kill 8 animals, and leave without a trace, not even a single muddy footprint.
Right, and that kind of silence, that surgical silence, is what connects all these cases. It's as if whatever is doing this isn't just hunting, it's avoiding detection, almost as if it knows how to work in the gaps of our attention.
That idea is terrifying, that there's something out there, something intelligent or at least extremely evolved, moving among us, watching us, feeding on what we've domesticated and trusting that we'll argue ourselves into disbelief.
And maybe that's the scariest part, Mark, because it works, doesn't it? We talk ourselves out of fear by calling it hysteria, by blaming movies or coyotes or mangy dogs. But the bodies are still there, the witnesses still shaking, the blood still gone.
And in a moment, we're going to talk about the evolution of the Chupacabra myth, how it moved from the Caribbean to the deserts of Texas, and what changed along the way. But for now, I want everyone listening to think about this. What would you do if you woke up one morning, walked outside, and found your dog lying in the yard, eyes open, unmoving, not a drop of blood left in its body, but no wounds to explain it, no tracks in the soil, no howl in the night, just silence and absence? How would you explain that?
Or worse, Mark, what if the only thing you found were the prints, and they didn't look human or animal, just wrong?